Syria's representative to the UN says that the Saudi regime's involvement in instigating people to terrorism and sending terrorists to Syria is confirmed. Iraqi army continues its campaign against terrorism, destroying 60% of the capabilities of the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and the Sham in Al-Anbar. And Russian-American consultations affirm that the crisis in Syria cannot be solved except through political means. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian television in Damascus. Syria's permanent envoy to the United Nations, Al-Jaafari, said that the Saudi regime is involved in instigating people to terrorism and sending the terrorists to Syria, under the pretext of jihad, including the sixth jihad. He added that those issues became confirmed starting from the statement of the Saudi Foreign Minister Saud al-Faisal, who admitted twice in Cairo that Saudi Arabia is arming the so-called opposition, stressing that Saudi Arabia is instigating people to terrorism and perpetrating massacres in Syria, adding that the so-called Islamic Front is also a terrorist organization. He went on to say that Syria has repeatedly warned of supporting or instigating terrorism practiced by the Saud regime in violation of the international resolutions and norms. And since the beginning of the crisis, it has sent a number of letters to the United Nations and Security Council affirming that the Saudi regime is involved in crimes perpetrated by armed terrorist groups in Syria. Member of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee at the Iranian Shura Council, Bakr Hosseini, warned against the U.S. plans in supporting the spreading of terrorism in the region. More about that in the following. Hosseini said that Israel and the U.S. are responsible for feeding terrorist acts in Iraq and Syria, pointing out that the terrorist groups who are committing criminal acts in Syria and Iraq are the same, adding that states sponsoring terrorists should realize the adverse consequences of such acts and abstain from supporting terrorism, because terrorist groups would return to their countries and carry out criminal acts there. The Syrian Army continues to target terrorist gatherings in various governorates, killing and wounding scores of terrorists belonging to Al-Nusra Front and other terrorist organizations affiliated to Al-Qaeda. Army units carried out sweeping operations in various areas in Damascus countryside, during which it killed scores of terrorists, some affiliated to the so-called Islam Brigade, and destroyed their weapons and equipment in Al-Qabun, Jobar, Douma, and Daraya. While in Aleppo, the Syrian army units killed scores of terrorists in the village of Al-Jdeide, Kweris, Ahlaytan, Ma'arat Artiq, Khan al-Asal, the industrial area to the north of the central prison, and destroyed their cars. The source added that an army unit killed 8 terrorists and injured others in the area surrounding Azize village in the southeastern countryside of Aleppo. In Homs, a military source said that army units killed and injured a number of terrorist leaders during a special operation against one of their dens near Al-Jaafari clinic in Aristan city in Homs countryside. The source added that the army units killed a number of snipers who were stationed in towers in front of Al-Rais Street in Al-Wa'ar neighborhood in the city. In Lattakia and in the countryside, a military source said that an army unit destroyed a cache full of rockets and 4 cars equipped with heavy machine guns in Selma village, killing scores of them, including Fadl al-Turkawi from Saudi Arabia, Khalid al-Rashawani from Egypt, and Abu Safwan al-Zaidi from Libya. Meanwhile, another army unit killed 13 terrorists in Kharbat al-Jawz village, including Abu Hamdu al-Abbasi from Iraq, Abu Mazin al-Shuaibi, Safwan Akra, and Abdul Rahman al-Assaf, in addition to destroying 2 cars loaded with weapons and ammunition and explosive devices. The International Security Council of the United Nations expressed its total support for the Iraqi government and its fighting for gaining sovereignty back. While some areas were under the terrorist siege, in a statement, the Security Council has urged the Iraqi tribes and the local officials of Al-Anbar Governorate for expanding and fighting terrorists there, pointing out that the need to both the national dialogue and the national unity. Syrian government is giving top priority to ensure the necessary requirements for citizens in housing centers and shelters of displaced people who were forced out of their houses because of the terrorist acts perpetrated by the armed terrorist groups. A closer look in the following.
Various state administrations are shouldering responsibility in ensuring all services to citizens who took refuge to the housing centers fleeing the terrorist acts committed by extremist terrorist organizations. The Ministries of Health, Social Affairs and local administrations are organizing the services offered to the displaced families in the housing centers.
We in Damascus countryside governorate receive all displaced citizens who left their houses because of the criminal terrorist acts. We offer the displaced citizens all kinds of aid, including food and health services. We have also contributed to the national vaccination campaign in cooperation with the medical center in the governorate.
بنقدم الخدمات هون بريف دمشق للإخوة اللي بيستفيدوا المهجرين.
We offer services to all citizens in the housing centers and we cooperate with the Red Crescent organization to offer all kinds of services in help.
بيجينا المراجع هون المستفيد.
We receive all displaced citizens and evaluate their requirements and offer them every possible aid.
التلقيح امبارح لقحونا الأولاد.
All the children in this housing center were vaccinated. The Red Crescent officials and the officials in this center are helping us by all possible means.
High turnout was witnessed during the polio vaccination campaign within the framework of the National Vaccination Campaign sponsored by the Ministry of Health.
This national campaign Syrian, and we are in the second step of this campaign, and this campaign, the goal of this campaign is to prevent dangerous disease which named poliomyelitis to prevent it from expand in our country. This vaccine is very important to say to our Syrian families. It's very safe and very effective. Our goal is in our point is 2,600 children, but in all Syria, 2,200,000 in all Syria. But the UNICEF says the goal of our campaign is to reach this vaccine to 22 million.
With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Now to the latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.